Hey, so I'm Tony Hardman. I'm the designer for the PG3. So I worked in basketball for a couple years. I worked on some lower tier models like the Zoom Crusader. Also worked on things like the Hyperposit, some Hyperfuse models, Run the One. One day my boss, Leo Chang, you might know Leo Chang, he works on KD, called me in his office and said, hey, how would you feel about working on Paul George? And I said, amazing. I was a big fan of Paul George. So it was a super exciting moment for me to get a signature line. I think that's something in basketball that you always want to achieve. And Paul, I think, was a perfect fit for me. He's a great guy to work with, and we've been on this journey ever since. Had already done that, but I think once you are starting to design a signature shoe for a guy, you then want to know a lot more about them. You want to start really digging into who they are as a person, what they need on court. And then we, shortly after that, went to Paul's house in Indiana and spent a day with him. Just looked in his closets, talked about shoes that he liked in the past, and that's how we really got to know him. I think one of the things that made Paul, the PG1, unique was the natural materials that we brought into it, and that's something that Paul's been adamant about having in his footwear. He says, I always want it to be a sneaker. He doesn't want like a sock type of shoe with, pods on the bottom of it, too futuristic. He likes it clean, classic, simple, with some natural materials on it, and that's something that we've continued to evolve through his line. We try to keep some kind of panel or element on the shoe that we can bring different materials to, so it can live in different periods of time. I think for the PG1, the strap was something we took from a little sketch that he did. Paul actually likes to design little sketches on the side on his own. So he had an old sketch and it had a strap on it, and we kind of took that, and he really liked that because we felt like it also solved the function that we needed for that. So again, we evolved that on the 2, and that was something he wanted to keep. Then when we did the 2.5, we actually thought about doing more of a recovery version where we were going to take the support off and make the shoe cleaner. But he was really like, hey, maybe let's bring the 1 strap back for the kids that really love the 1. He loves it as well, but he loves both. So for him, he just gets different flavors, as he likes to call them. And then he can pick which one he wants to wear, whichever one he's in the mood for that night. I feel like we always try to come to some kind of compromise where he's not uncomfortable with it, but we find a way to move through what we want to bring to him in terms of performance, and then he's still happy with the aesthetic of it. So I'd say the biggest change is just making the shoe more unibody, taking out some of the layers to make it more lightweight, which was the main goal. And then the other thing was the foam that we used in the midsole is lighter and softer, so the zoom feels a little bit better underfoot and it's more comfortable. So the one thing Paul always says to us is he wants to have clouds on his feet. So he really wants the feeling all around his foot to be soft and comfortable. And I think there's a number of things that go into making that sensation come to life. One is we try to take the seams out of the inside of the shoe so it feels soft and comfortable against your foot. Also, the underfoot feel is really important. So we've got that extra sock liner thickness inside that's been specific to Paul. So when you step into the shoe, it feels really soft and cloudy. I think the one thing that we've been able to do is kind of reduce stiffness in the upper by making these free floating so that the upper itself is still soft and pliable against the foot. And then these can kind of work independently, and that allows the foot to have better comfort inside. And I think that's how we've been able to balance without adding a bunch of reinforcement to the actual shoe. We can keep that soft but still keep the support there, and it moves with him while he plays. So I think for the 3, when we started off and we knew we really wanted to have this space inspiration, it was about finding out what elements could we take and make them performance elements. Like when you think about the moon and the circular craters on the moon, those really lend themselves to be good traction elements. So you think, well, maybe instead of putting something on the upper that has to do with that, maybe we can find a way to make the traction do that. Also with the materials, I think the astronaut suit is really intuitive. A lot of people understand what that is and how that feels and looks. So we felt like that was a cool element to be able to bring into the collar and really bring something new to the shoe as well. The design process is really about refining, taking away, putting back, and going through different stages. So anytime we do a shoe, that's something that we have to go through. I think the cool thing was, everything started around this quote with Paul and Footprints on the Moon. So that was really intuitive and was the initial inspiration for the shoe. And I think for us to be able to collaborate with an agency like NASA, who's doing really inspiring things and pushing the boundaries, made sense. It was exciting for us and them as well. And I think the fact that it was a true collaboration where we went back and forth with them to get the approvals and apply things correctly to really bring the shoe to life was what really made it special. When you can bring two incredible things together to make something else, that's when it's special.